Hello, welcome back to the breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with another update coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got a very big lineup of news that I'd like to brief you all on today. So, lots of huge news coming out from this war overnight. We're going to start off talking about a drone attack on a defense plant that's owned by the company Rostec in the Vladimir region. So, last night, Ukrainian drones were entering into Russia once again. And in the Vladimir region of Russia, close to the Moscow region, we have the Murom instrument making plant that was reportedly attacked. So we'll start off with this story here on your screen. Ukraine attacks a major defense plant owned by Rostec in the Vladimir region. Ukrainian drones struck the Murom instrument making plant in Russia's Vladimir Oblast overnight on April 30th, damaging two buildings and sparking a fire, according to a source in Ukraine's SBU, which is their security service. So this company is owned by the Rostec Corporation, which fulfills contracts for the Russian military. And since 2023, this enterprise has been under sanctions from the European Union and Ukraine. But reportedly, it is still in business as it was attacked last night. And you can see here in the video footage a massive fire coming from over there. Reports of two buildings that were hit on the site. I think even like a guard post was attacked as well. And the Murom instrument making plant in Russia's Vladimir region is known to produce or manufacture pyrotechnic devices, ignition primers, and initiation systems for fire suppression systems. Okay, so like primers are very important. If Russia did not have primers, basically nothing would fire, right? So we're going to talk about the hits on this plant here and the damage that could possibly be caused to Russia's military if this plant was heavily hit. It looks like it was. So we'll talk about that more in just a minute. We also have reports of Kharkiv being attacked again last night inside of Ukraine. I've got video footage of drones entering into that area, crashing all over the streets. Some people were even driving and having drones landing very close to them last night. So once again, just Ukraine being pummeled by drones overnight. We'll talk about that as well. And then a very big report today coming out from Russia. The Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov basically telling the U.S. that they're not going to get the quick peace deal that they would want in this war against Ukraine. And one of their major goals right now is to finish off the four territories that they're currently fighting for inside of Ukraine right now, which includes Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson. Okay, so I'm thinking this war is going to continue until we at least see those four regions fall by Ukraine. But we'll show you that information here in just a little bit as well. Okay, so much news coming out today, guys. We're going to go ahead and jump right into this. Let's hop on over here to a report with Astra on X. Warehouse and security gate burned down at Rostec defense plant in Murom after overnight drone strike, according to Astra sources. Locals say the Murom instrument making plant, which produces ignition and initiation systems for Russian military ammunition, caught fire overnight on April 30th after a drone attack. Roads around the site were blocked. Astra's sources in the Russian Ministry of Emergency Situations said the plant security gate and one of its warehouses were destroyed in the fire. Earlier, the regional governor reported a 720 square meter fire, but did not name the facility. Okay, it's probably this Rostec plant that was on fire. The Murom instrument making plant is part of the Techmash concern under the state-owned Rostec Corporation. It is one of the main suppliers of ignition systems for the Russian Armed Forces, Interior Ministry, FSB, and other security agencies. Okay. It also says here the plant has been under Ukrainian and EU sanctions since 2023. So here's a picture coming out from that video that we saw there. You can see a major fire over here, maybe even two fires. Looks like there's one off to the left over here also. And again, we understand that two warehouses were reportedly hit, at least one of them burning down to the ground most likely. And a guard post was also attacked over here. So we got a couple videos we can show you guys as well. All right, so it looks like somebody near the area had a security camera on their doorstep, and we can hear that massive explosion after we see this lighting up of the skies here. So probably a direct strike on that facility is what I'm thinking. We got another video very similar to this coming up next. All right, we'll go ahead and pause it there. So this video, yeah, very similar. Looks like whoever caught this on their camera was a little bit further away, but we can hear that blast in the background striking this facility, okay? So massive hits over here in the Vladimir region of Russia. Here's some more information now for Max24. And he put a post here from Telegram. It says, attack on the Murom instrument making plant. On April 30th, 2025, an attack was carried out on the Murom instrument making plant in Murom, Vladimir region. Strike was carried out using 8 attack UAVs. Due to impact, a warehouse for storing finished products was damaged. The building burned down completely. Preliminary reports stated it was primers for firearms, okay? Administrative premises destroyed. 4 UAVs crashed on the territory of the plant without significant consequences. 2 UAVs attacked an explosives synthesis workshop with no information about the consequences. The inefficiency of the installed electronic warfare systems at the enterprise is noted. Okay, so looks like they did have some EW systems set up over there to try to bring down any incoming drones. We'll wait for more information. Maybe more videos and pictures will come out later and more info on this probably in the next 24 hours. And if we get more reports on this, I'll give you guys some more updates later. Here's one more report from Kirilo Shevchenko. Over $4.2 million in damage, excluding destroyed equipment, may have been caused by a Ukrainian strike on Russia's Murom plant, the country's largest producer of percussion caps. The facility might churn out 80 million units monthly, tiny but crucial. These igniter power shells, missiles, and bombs. Without them, nothing fires. Yes, he definitely has a big point here. Yeah, if a lot of these primers are destroyed, I mean, Russia has weapons that are useless if they don't have primers and ignition systems to launch these projectiles into Ukraine. So this is a very big hit. Let's see what happens here over the next couple days if we get reports that Russia's supply chain is heavily affected by this in terms of their military support and weapons for the war. So this could possibly be a very big hit. Now for Kiev Post. Kharkiv under fire. Waves of deadly Russian drones strike the city, triggering multiple explosions across residential areas. Okay, so let's talk about Kharkiv now, northeastern part of Ukraine that's attacked pretty much every single day. Let's show you this video here real quick. It will be blurry, but you're going to be able to see explosions.
У нас очень близко. У нас очень близко. Ебать! Нихуя себе!
All right, so I apologize. The video is blurry. A lot of these do come out that way to protect the Ukrainians from being attacked again from Russian drones. But we can see through the blur of this video, there is a massive explosion right over here, not too far away from this person. It looks like they might be on a balcony or something outside the back of their house while these incoming drones were entering into Kharkiv. So very scary video there. Now for more translated. During the day, Russia claimed it wanted peace, but at night it struck Kharkiv with a drone. The moment of the strike was captured on local residents' dash cams. Okay, so here's another video. These people are going to be driving down the street, and all of a sudden a drone's going to be crashing pretty close to them off to the side of the road. Take a look at this.
Ебаный в рот! За нахуй отсюда, блядь!
И шип маме, чтоб съебывалась.
Сука, блядь! Что машина не... Мамулька, все хорошо.
All right, so judging by the siren that we're hearing in the background, I'm wondering if maybe these were police officers inside of Kharkiv, but we can see that drone there just crashing right on the side of the road as that car was coming by too. Hopefully those people inside that car were okay, but you can see they just hightailed it, turned around, and just took off, even driving in the oncoming direction here on this side of the road. So chaos happening inside of Kharkiv last night. Let's move on to another one now from next. Overnight, Russians attacked Kharkiv and Dnipro with drones. In Kharkiv, dozens of private houses and 3 apartment buildings were damaged. At least 16 drones struck the city. Around 50 people were injured, including 2 children and a pregnant woman. In the Dnipropetrovsk region, 1 person was killed and another injured in Russian strikes, according to regional governor Serhiy Lysak. Most of the destruction affected private residential areas. Okay, so we got 3 photos here that we can show you guys of damage happening inside of Ukraine last night. not only in Kharkiv, but Dnipro, the city of Dnipro in the Dnipropetrovsk region, heavily being attacked. And this has been a city also just being hammered like crazy. Looks like some people here in shock due to some of the attacks last night as well. Here's an area just completely destroyed, caught on fire due to Russian drone attacks. So we got a video coming up next.
Охуеть!
Wow, incredibly frightening video, guys. I mean, look at that drone that just landed right in front of this man. That's got to be maybe, 100 feet away, and this drone just crashes right there. Looks like it probably had a thermobaric warhead on that thing as well. So very scary, guys. A lot of these drones entering into Ukraine last night and nearly striking several people who were recording it. So now from Vicegrad24, breaking, Russia says Trump won't get his quick peace in Ukraine. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said, "We understand that Washington is willing to achieve a quick success in this process. But at the same time, we hope for understanding that the settlement of the Ukrainian crisis is too complicated to be done overnight. There are lots of details and lots of small things that need to be tackled before the settlement." Peskov also said Moscow must achieve its aims in Ukraine. That statement indicates that Russia refuses to freeze the front lines as they are and will try to take parts of the Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhzhia, and Kherson regions currently held by the Ukrainian army. Okay, so what we've heard recently over the last week coming out from Russia is multiple times they've stated, if Ukraine pulls away from the front lines here in these regions, Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia, and Kherson, basically let Russia have these regions and take them over, they'll end the war. That's what they've stated. Now, you can let me know whether you believe that's the case or not, right? But my point here is that once again, Russia's coming out and stating they're not going to end this war basically until Ukraine pulls back from these areas. And we know Ukraine will not do that. They're going to continue fighting for every inch of territory inside of Ukraine. And this is indicating exactly what this statement talks about down here, where it's saying that Russia's not going to be willing to freeze the front line where they're at, okay? That they want to complete all their war goals. And at least from what we understand right now, their major war goals are to take over these 4 regions and completely control them. And who knows, maybe even carry on a further invasion into Ukraine, moving forward, okay? So I just want to give you guys an update there. It doesn't look like we're going to see any kind of peace happening anytime soon. Now for military news UA, Moscow is preparing for the May 9th parade, okay? So we've got some video coming out today and pictures. Russia is preparing for their parade coming up on May 9th for Victory Day. And they've been getting a lot of this equipment from Kazakhstan, apparently, because the Russians are using everything to fight inside of Ukraine. So they had to borrow military equipment from Kazakhstan just to hold this parade. So take a look. All right, so lots of footage coming out today, pictures just showing the Russians preparing for this parade coming up. And apparently right now, too, they're very worried about being attacked on that day by Ukraine. We'll talk about that. Now for Max 24, more from rehearsal of the May 9th parade in Moscow. Okay, more pictures coming out from Moscow today. Showing this parade of different weaponry. Here's these Shahed drones that constantly fly into Ukraine. I mean, look at how massive those things are, guys. I think most people don't realize how big these Shahed drones are. They're very big. Some of them almost the size of a small house. That's why they cause so much damage and completely obliterate homes inside of Ukraine. There's a few other photos as well of Russian military vehicles. Well, I guess we should say Kazakhstan military vehicles, but that are being borrowed for the Russians. And more pictures coming out here as well inside of Moscow. Okay, so they are getting prepared for this parade. And we've got this information here from Slava. The Russian occupation authorities are asking residents of Crimea not to travel across the Crimean Kerch Bridge during the May holidays. Okay, so I mean, what we clearly are seeing here coming out from the Kremlin and Moscow is they appear to be very worried that Ukraine is going to crash the party on May 9th, maybe attack the capital with drones, or maybe attack the Kerch Bridge. Something major could happen to disrupt the holiday parade on May 9th. And I'm thinking more than likely Ukraine is not going to attack the capital just because there's a lot of world leaders that are going to be there. I think that would be a very dangerous decision to make. But I could be wrong. We'll see what happens. Maybe Ukraine will carry out some sort of attack onto Russia to maybe deflect from what's going on inside the victory parade. So that way Russia can't make it appear as if they're winning this war. I think we will see something happening on May 9th, but you guys let me know what you think. Now, for more translated, the agreement on subsoil use between Ukraine and United States will be signed within the next 24 hours, says Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal. He also noted that 2 additional technical implementing agreements will follow, one for establishing an investment fund and another for its financing and allocation. Okay, so big update today. We're hearing that this minerals deal will be signed most likely within the next 24 hours. That's according to the Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal today, okay? And I've got more information here. Max 24, Ukraine retains control over all resources, subsoil, and infrastructure. Details of the mineral agreement were revealed by the Prime Minister Shmyhal. It will be a partnership. The fund will have a 50-50 share. The U.S. will be able to count new military aid as a contribution to the fund. Ukraine only makes a contribution from new mineral licenses. The U.S. aid that was provided before the agreement is at its subject. The fund must invest in the development of Ukraine for 10 years. The agreement stipulates 0 tariffs for the U.S. and Ukraine. The American side undertakes to attract other partners. This agreement does not contradict Ukraine's accession to the European Union. Okay, so this looks a lot better than what we've been seeing recently. These are just some of the statements coming out regarding this partnership deal on a minerals agreement between the U.S. and Ukraine. So far, it's looking a lot better. Let me know what you guys think about some of these statements and the terms of this agreement. But apparently, Ukraine and the United States are going to be signing this here very soon, potentially in the next 24 hours. Now, from the Ukrainian Review, Russia's oil exports edged higher for a second week, with almost half the tankers sanctioned in previous years now back hauling Russian barrels, according to Bloomberg. Crude flows from all Russian ports in 4 weeks to April 27th rose to 3.26 million barrels a day, up by 1% from the previous week. At least 18 of the 39 ships blacklisted by the U.S. in 2023 and 2024 are now regularly hauling barrels from Russia's ports, having previously been idle since they were sanctioned. Okay, so this is not good news. Russia's going to be able to make more money now from some of these sanctioned vessels that were transporting oil just prior to being sanctioned back in 2023 when Biden was in office. But apparently, some of these sanctions are now starting to fall off, and the Trump administration has not been renewing a lot of sanctions for Russia right now, and they're doing that on purpose, supposedly to help out with some of these efforts of trying to end this war, as to not pressure Russia too much so they can agree to some sort of deal to end this war. But I know a lot of people are stating right now that's not the case. It's more likely just to help out Russia, to help them win this war, or whatever it might be. A lot of people have conflicting ideas on that. But these were just some of the statements coming out from the Trump administration on why they're not increasing pressure on Russia. But we do have some information today that potentially the U.S. could be putting major pressure, economic sanctions onto Russia here very soon if they don't end this war. And what we're hearing today from the Kremlin is they're not ready to end this war anytime soon. So things are definitely going to get interesting. But this was a report coming out yesterday as Russian tankers are now starting to move oil around the world again, as they were previously sanctioned under the Biden administration. Now, from Ozent Technical, amazing find by KS Ozent. It appears that a Ukrainian AN-124 transported at least 3 F-16 airframes from the boneyard at Davis Monthan Air Force Base to Rzeszów, Poland. Gateway for Western military aid. The U.S. has not confirmed any direct donations of F-16s to Ukraine. Okay, so thought this was interesting here. Apparently Ukraine could be receiving some of these. These are like just airframes of an F-16. I think they could be like some older models or something. They don't have any like engines or anything attached to them. It's literally just the airframe. And apparently Ukraine could be getting a few of these. And maybe they're going to be using them for decoys or something like that. Who really knows? But apparently these came from a boneyard, okay, at an Air Force base. So interesting information coming out today. Just wanted to share that with you guys. We could be hearing more on that soon. Now from Bliskovka, Russians are increasing the intensity of hostilities in the Pokrovsk region. This was reported by the commander-in-chief of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, Oleksandr Syrsky. The enemy is trying to break through the defenses of the Ukrainian Armed Forces and reach the border with the Dnipro region. Okay, so update today from Ukraine's commander of their armed forces, Oleksandr Syrsky, stating that Russia is trying to break through to the Dnipro-Petrovsk region. We've been hearing that. There was a report, I think it was yesterday, the day before I gave you guys, that Russian commanders on the front line were receiving reports from the generals to launch an attack onto Dnipropetrovsk region, which is just behind the Donetsk region, and to reach it by May 9th, okay, by the time they hold this Victory Day parade. And if not, they will all be imprisoned, okay? So we're definitely seeing lots of attacks picking up in the Donetsk region, especially around the city of Pokrovsk. And the Russians could be pressing forward, trying to make a breakthrough into the Dnipropetrovsk region, which is just beyond Pokrovsk. Now from Max 24, Vatican meeting. Zelensky said he won't recognize Crimea as Russian. Trump clarified he wasn't asking him to, just that the U.S. would. Zelensky added he's open to concessions for peace, but only with strong security guarantees, according to Axios. Okay, so we talked a little bit about this meeting between Trump and Zelensky at the Vatican the other day, and it says what Zelensky told Trump at Pope Francis's funeral. So there was a report that came out just the other day as well that I showed you guys, that like a lip reader was apparently seeing that Trump was telling Zelensky that he didn't have to fully recognize Crimea as Russian territory, that only the U.S. would do that. And apparently looks like that was true, at least according to Axios, because that lines up with what that lip reader was saying. Okay, so that's reportedly what's going on with Crimea right now. And then in terms of strong security guarantees, we know that Zelensky's really requesting that from the U.S. right now to get some major security guarantees to make sure that Russia can't attack them ever again. And we know that the U.S. can provide those security guarantees, but so far we haven't heard any concrete evidence that the U.S. is going to provide that. So we're still waiting to hear that information. Now from Akash Maniam, I like what I'm hearing from the incoming chancellor. Okay, this is Friedrich Merz, the incoming chancellor to Germany. Okay, so he's supposed to be getting in, I think, on May 6th here pretty soon in the next week. So take a look at what he was stating while he was at a conference, about 48 seconds long.
The Russian aggression against Ukraine is continuing, and the death toll among Ukrainians continue to rise. I would like to say the message. Our message will and has to be very clear. If other nations and other countries question the values of national sovereignty and the inviolability of borders, of freedom and of democracy, we will stand even more strongly for these values. The Russian...
Okay, so if you're a major supporter of Ukraine, this is actually very good news. We've been seeing Friedrich Merz coming out so much and just stating that they'll stand with Ukraine, back them, maybe even send Taurus missiles over to Ukraine. And, the former chancellor, or soon-to-be former chancellor, Olaf Scholz, he's been the complete opposite. He's been very afraid to send weaponry over to Ukraine. Not that he didn't provide support to Ukraine, but, for example, like the Taurus missiles, he was not willing to send them, afraid of escalation from Russia. Although, many weapons have already been hitting inside of Russian territory that were Western-made, like missiles and whatnot, and Russia's never really responded to it. So Olaf Scholz gotten a lot of backlash on that, but what we see from Friedrich Merz, he appears to be very pro-Ukraine and wants to back them 110%. So that's some good news if you are a Ukrainian supporter. Now from Bliskovka, Ukraine will allow signing contracts for people aged 60 plus according to a draft law. Member of Parliament Roman Kostenko said that citizens will be able to voluntarily sign a service contract for a year for officers with the consent of the general staff. Okay, I thought this was interesting. So anybody who's 60 plus will be able to sign a one-year contract with the Ukrainian military. I mean, imagine a 60-year-old fighting on the front lines. That's pretty insane. I mean, maybe there's some good people who are in very good shape at 60 years old. I've known people who were like that. But I mean, that is very old to be out fighting a war, right? So, more cause for concern, in my opinion. We've been seeing a lot of reports like this coming out from Ukraine that they're just sending whoever they can to the front line to replace wounded soldiers. So hopefully that's not bad news, indicating that maybe Ukraine's running out of soldiers. We've been kind of hearing that off and on for a while now, and this war's really been dragging on for more than 3 years now. So hopefully that's not the case, but a new law enacted inside of Ukraine that will allow people age 60 plus to sign a one-year contract. Now from Max 24, just 7.4% of Ukrainians say they trust Trump now, a huge drop from nearly 45% last November, says the Center in New Europe. Almost 90% say they don't trust him, frustrated with how he's handling the war with his reluctance to offer real security guarantees. Okay, so Trump's approval rating, even in the United States, according to media outlets in the U.S., has been falling a lot recently also. So it doesn't surprise me that Ukraine is doing the same thing. I mean, we know that Ukraine is not very happy with the decisions that the Trump administration has been making, and we've been seeing a constant trend recently that Trump's approval rating, or the trust coming from the Ukrainians, is continuing to fall. The percentages keep dropping lately. So not good news coming out from Ukraine, but we know that Ukraine right now is very unhappy with the decisions that Trump's been making, okay? So now moving on to Savchenko, Vladimir Zelensky. It is important to continue to put pressure on Russian networks of influence, as well as on all their production and trade operations. We are trying to synchronize Ukrainian sanctions with everyone in Europe as much as possible so that this is a common position. We already have good results, including enclosed Russian productions that work for their defense industry. We're also preparing for a conversation with America about new sanction steps. We are choosing precisely those pain points in Russia that will most encourage Moscow to engage in diplomacy. This was a statement coming out from Zelensky last night in his nightly address to the Ukrainian people. And big part right here that I want to show you guys is him talking about working with the U.S. right now to put out some sanctions onto Russia. And I think that is going to be the next step here very soon, because again, we're not really seeing Russia being willing to negotiate. They might come out and say that verbally, but their actions show the opposite. So I think the U.S. is going to have to influence Russia and pressure them to engage in diplomatic talks with Ukraine and try to end this war. But we'll see what happens here soon. Now, for the Ukrainian Review, Witkoff said that he believes Putin sees an opportunity for the first time in decades for U.S.-Russia relationship recalibration, according to The Hill. Over the weekend, Rubio said that the only solution for the war in Ukraine is a negotiation where both Ukraine and Russia give up something, okay? So we're still continuously hearing the same thing coming out from the Trump administration. Steve Witkoff, the special envoy of the Middle East, that's communicating with Moscow right now to try to end this war on behalf of the U.S. So this is what he's stating again, still stating that Russia and Ukraine are going to have to give something up, okay? They keep going with the same game plan here that so far is not working, especially on the Russian side. So again, I don't think we're going to see an end to this war. Here's another report also from Keith Kellogg. And this from Max 24. Kellogg said that a list of conditions with a peaceful settlement was agreed in London, which includes 22 actions. The Ukrainians did not like every one, but no one will like the final position that you will develop. It is normal when you have some negotiations, but I think we are in a pretty good position with them. When it comes to the Ukrainians, we are very comfortable with where we are right now. He summed up his speech by saying that there can be no winners in this war, and therefore it is necessary to work diplomatically. Okay, so even from Keith Kellogg, he's coming out saying they're having decent progress with the Ukrainians, maybe not perfect, but what's coming out from the Russian side? We're not really hearing anything. If anything, like I showed you guys that report, they're rejecting the calls for ending this war quickly right now, and they're stating this war cannot come to an end anytime soon, that it's going to take a lot of effort to solve even little tiny problems in this war before they can make even any kind of a decision to end this war completely, okay? So just more show here that this war is not going to end. Now from Bliskovka, Europe can't raise even 25,000 troops for a mission in Ukraine, according to The Times. British Chief of Defense Staff Tony Radakin called for a contingent of up to 64,000 troops. London was ready to provide up to 10,000, but at a meeting in Brussels, defense ministers acknowledged that even 25,000 would be difficult to recruit. In this regard, the UK and France are inclined to send instructors and training units to Western Ukraine instead of creating a full-fledged multinational mission. So here's a report today. Europe would struggle to put 25,000 troops on the ground in Ukraine. So we're hearing even more coming out from this coalition of the willing situation that the UK and France have been trying to set up to send a military contingent into Ukraine. And they can't even get 25,000 troops together, okay? So I have a very big feeling if we even do see any kind of European soldiers inside of Ukraine, if this war does come to an end, I think it's going to be a very small amount. But at the same time, if this war continues on for months on or another year, maybe longer, that'll give Europe more time to try to figure something out. So those numbers could change at any time here, okay? Now, from next, Estonia is ready to send a peacekeeping contingent to Ukraine, said the country's Prime Minister, Mikkel. Earlier, the Times reported that Europe would struggle to assemble 25,000 troops for a deterrence force in Ukraine as European armies are understrength and underfunded. France has expressed its willingness to send up to 10,000 personnel, and the UK has indicated a similar number. However, Poland, Italy, and Spain have opposed participation in the mission. Germany has not yet made a decision. So as far as we know, only the UK, France, and now Estonia coming out saying they're willing to send some troops into Ukraine. So we could potentially have maybe 10, 15, 20,000 troops just between these three nations, I guess depending on how much the UK is willing to send. So yeah, we really don't know the official numbers yet, but it looks like they're still struggling to figure out how they're going to resolve that. Now for more translated, AP reports, according to the South Korean National Intelligence Service, around 4,700 North Korean soldiers have been killed or wounded, with approximately 600 killed in the Kursk region. These soldiers were fighting on the side of Russia against Ukraine under a strategic partnership agreement with Russia. So South Korea's intelligence service reported today that around 4,700 North Korean soldiers have been killed or wounded in battle. We know about 12,000 or so was actually sent over to Russia, at least officially confirmed. And 600 being killed in the Kursk region. Okay, so these are just some of the numbers coming out from South Korea's intelligence service today on casualties on the North Korean side. Now for Knoll reports, a victory of justice over pure evil. DPRK military delegation head on the liberation of the Kursk region, Lieutenant General Pak Yong-2, II, says it marks a new chapter in the DPRK Russia combat alliance. More and more North Korean officials openly confirm their role in the war against Ukraine. Okay, so this was a general here in North Korea's army, even confirming more that that North Korean soldiers have been sent over to Russia. We had that very big report just the other day that Russia had confirmed that North Korean soldiers did help out in the Kursk region, and now we're starting to see more reports like this. Even North Korean commanders coming out and stating that their forces have been sent over there, okay, to Russia. Now from Max 24, this summer, Russia may launch an offensive from Belarus. Putin is preparing something there under the guise of military exercises. This is how his new attacks begin. But where this time? Ukraine, Lithuania, Poland? God forbid, but we all have to be ready, says Zelensky. So he actually stated this yesterday. You can see the date here, April 29th. And yeah, so he's warning that, maybe Russia's going to launch some sort of attack and extend this war. Will he attack from the north in Belarus, attacking into Ukraine? Will Russia attack the Baltic nations? What's going to happen? I mean, just so many threats being passed around from the Russian side recently. Lots of warnings coming out from NATO that the Baltic nations could be attacked, maybe even Finland. We had a report a few days ago also that the Russians are expanding their military bases over near Finland right now. So, a lot could really happen. And we know that in Belarus this summer, they're going to be having massive military exercises with the Russians, I think upwards of 100,000 or more troops. So, a lot of times when Russia does these military exercises, they could be disguised as an exercise, but set up in preparation for an attack. So Ukraine is getting ready for that. Hopefully NATO is as well. Now from Bliskovka, Ukrainian air defense forces shot down 50 out of 108 enemy UAVs. 22 enemy imitator UAVs were lost in the area without any negative consequences. 2 enemy UAVs are still in Ukrainian airspace. Combat operations are ongoing. So 108 drones going into Ukraine last night. Looks like about half or more being shot down or brought down by electronic warfare. But unfortunately, we did have a lot of strikes inside of Ukraine last night, as we reported Kharkiv and Dnipro being the most hit, with those videos and pictures coming out today. Now from Kyiv Independent, these are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of April 30th, according to the Armed Forces of Ukraine. And our final updates of the day, guys, Russia's losses as of April 30th, 1,100 troops, 1 AFV, 179 vehicles and fuel tanks, 1 tank, 11 artillery systems, 112 UAVs, 1 MLRS, and 9 special equipment. Okay, so once again, several days in a row now, we are seeing very, very low numbers. I think the only number that's about average here is the vehicles and fuel tanks. We usually see about 150 to 200 on average there. Everything else appears very low. Even the troop numbers, 1,100. We've been seeing more 12, 1,300 numbers. Those have been creeping down closer to 1,000 recently. I mean, look at this. Only 1 AFV and 1 tank being destroyed. So, if we're hearing that the Russians are launching offensives, trying to break into the Dnipropetrovsk region, I would think these numbers should start skyrocketing. Maybe it takes a little time for these to be reflected over to Ukraine's intelligence. Maybe we'll see these numbers pushing up, but we know that Russia is still continuing their offensives on the front lines inside of Ukraine, and their goal is to take control of the 4 regions. That includes Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson regions in Ukraine. So I would expect these numbers to start popping up soon, but so far these numbers have been very low recently, and this indicates that maybe Russia's holding back a little bit. Maybe they're setting up for some sort of major attack here very soon, and I could be wrong about that, but you guys let me know why you think some of these numbers would be so low right now. Could also be possibly for the parade coming up very soon. Also, maybe just attacks are going to slow down a little bit, as a lot of Russian forces will be sent over to the capital to participate in that parade. So lots of very big news coming out from this war today, guys. I want to thank you very much for tuning in for this update on April 30th, 2025. So it's the last day of April. Hope you guys are all ready for May. And actually, my birthday's coming up next month on May 15th. So thank you guys very much for tuning in for this update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.